Today, the Women Gender Constituency is uniting with feminist movements and gender advocates from every region, turning the blue zone purple, bringing life, presence, and energy to the space, and sharing our demands so loudly that even within the gender negotiations room that were happening earlier this afternoon, you could hear our rumbling in a powerful action we named Baskets to Belém. At COP30, we remain unwavering in our pursuit of feminist climate justice, as we set out to not merely defend, but advance on hard-won rights. We do so both by diving deep into the negotiations, but also through building the bridge to the reality beyond these words on paper.
We all know that we stand in critical moment in the history, the moment where the climate crisis is being accelerating and intensifying, but also the moment where we are seeing anti-rights as well has been vocal and funded, and in most cases supported by the powerful, not only corporation, but in the recent past by the government. And we know as well that behind all those crises, or in the midst of all those crises, yet solutions do exist. We know that communities in the front line are not waiting for all of us to support them. They are already doing a lot of work themselves to adapt to the fast-changing climate, to address losses and damage that they continue to face. We came to COP30 to demand government to recommit, one, to end climate crisis, and second, to ensure that climate solutions are gender just, and climate action are gender just, intersectional, and they're importantly rooted in human rights. The government, they have opportunity to do so this year by adopting an ambitious gender action plan.
Adaptation indicators, including those means of implementation, must explicitly refer to access to communities, organizations, and vulnerable groups. We cannot measure progress if those most affected by the crisis are left out of the data. Clear, measurable, and inclusive objectives reflecting the voices of Indigenous peoples, local communities, Afro-descendants, women, refugees, migrants, and children and youth, and persons with disabilities.
Not only has this process failed to deliver action, failed to deliver justice, it has and continues to safeguard colonial states and corporate exploiters, while the people themselves are increasingly barred and silenced, pushed to the margins, pushed to the further away.
As parties negotiate transition away from fossil fuel extraction at COP30, we are specifically demanding feminist just transition rooted in care, consent, and rights that move beyond the extractive, racist, and patriarchal economies that are driving the climate crisis. The WGC is advocating for the adoption of the Belém Action Mechanism for Global Just Transition, or BAM, which will transform the just transition principles currently in the work program into a coherent, supportive, and actionable framework for parties to advance just transition.
We cannot deliver gender-responsive climate action without a massive scale-up of the provision of climate finance from developed country parties to developing country parties. Adaptation finance continues to lag far behind mitigation finance with an unacceptably large gap. Without adaptation, climate action is incomplete, and gender-responsive climate action is impossible.
Latin America and the Caribbean has been for long being exploited as a store for resources, plundering our territories to satisfy that thirst and luxury of the imperialist regimes through the regimes of labor that have exploited particularly Black, campesinas, and indigenous bodies. And at the same time, we are a region that brings that is gathering, that is coming with 80% of the environmental leaders that have been murdered across the globe. So in this way is that we recognize from Haiti's leadership in abolishing slavery in the region to the Palestinian resistance against apartheid and genocide, the same cry of liberation that resonates in our mountains, the same thirst for self-determination that we defend when we say that our bodies and our territories are not for sale. Our region is wrapped in the greatest biodiversity of the planet and has become a racial sacrifice zone for a capitalism that does not speak the language of dignity. We are here in Belém, in the region very close to the lungs of earth in the Amazonas, and we are in a critical moment in which we can choose to move from failure towards fairness, towards justice. After 30 years, the region demands a change in the course of climate action and cooperation.